Welcome to Kitchen Talk, a space where we can have open and honest conversations, just like you'd have with your friend at the kitchen table. Some of the things we talk about can be tough, but that's okay. We don't need to shy away from these stories. We can listen to them and learn from them and grow and change and make things better. Today, I'm so thankful to speak with Julie Dingwell, and she's going to be talking about the importance of creating a community to help people with substance abuse and addictions. So without further ado, here's Julie.
I'm Julie Dingwell, and I'm the Executive Director of Avenue B.
And what is Avenue B?
Avenue B is a harm reduction agency based in St. John region, but we do provide services to the entire Fundy region, including the Fundy Isles. So we have a big service area, and we're busy all the time. I remember when I first began, and I exchanged, I think, 199 needles, and now we're going to be exchanging about 460,000 needles this year. It's all about, just trying to keep people safe, asking people, if they'd like to get tested, and making things easy for people so that people can access the services they need without fear of any kind of retribution or that they'll be outed in any way. Our services are totally anonymous. We don't know anybody's name. And, things like the needles and the pipes, that's just the hook to get people in the door, because our best work is when we talk with people and find out what they need and how we might help with that. I think one of our big successes over the years is that we have peer health navigators, because peers are best. People like to talk to people with lived experience, that they know what they've been through. So that's the very best thing, is when we can connect somebody with somebody else who's got that. It just means the world to them, that they're not isolated and alone, and that they're not frowned upon. Like, there's no judgment here about how you ended up. I'm going to say 85% of the people that come in here are hurting people. And they've been hurting for a very long time. And drug use is a way to try to cope with that hurt. People just don't want to hurt anymore. And I just think about all these hurting people that, one, they get in more trouble with the law. They have mental health issues, and you have bigger mental health issues when you're using some of these street drugs. And I think that, one of the things that I can see working on in the future is just trying to change the policing and the enforcement, the whole justice system, turning it upside down. Not saying that we have to get rid of all police. Police have to be part of the solution. But we have to stop hurting the most hurting people among us. One of the quotes that gets me every time is Gabor Mate, who's a famous doctor and writer in Vancouver. One of the stories is this fellow who says, I have wonderful dreams. I dream I'm back on the prairies. I have a wife and children, and that my life is okay. And when I wake up, I'm in the East End of Vancouver, and I start crying because none of it's true anymore. In terms of things like drug treatment, for example, when, you'll hear some people say, well, I don't know that I want to be spending my tax dollars on helping people that are using drugs. Well, one, I just tell people you can do it with your heart or your head, right? You can do it with your head by saying, hey, if we don't do this, it costs the Medicare system millions of dollars more. If you do it with your heart, you do it just because you don't want to see those people hurting the way that they're hurting. Because nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to be a junkie. And maybe I'm going to be a junkie and I'll be out on the street doing survival sex and doing blowjobs for $10. Nobody wakes up and aspires to that. So I think that we have to look at how do people get there. And a lot of times what I see, and it's not always, but a lot of times it's poverty. People are conceived in poverty, they're born into poverty, and life just doesn't get any better. So that's what we need to work on evening out, is how do we make things equal for little children so that we don't have children growing up in such pain that they're looking, you know, to stop that. Yeah. And so, you know, when people would say, gee, I wonder whatever happened to all those guys that were at Kingsclear, we have those guys, right? So the trauma that they faced when they were punished as young children for stupid things, like, you know, and you have to ask yourself, if a child's stealing food, why are they stealing food? It's like some of our people will be arrested at Superstore for stealing food. Well, obviously, you're only stealing food if you're hungry.
Yeah.
You're not stealing food because it's easy.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that, you know, these times are tough for a lot of people. And we're just not careful enough with the people that are most vulnerable and hurting among us. Housing is such an issue for the people that we work with.
Yeah.
Nobody can find housing on what the income assistance rates would be.
Yeah.
So how do you subsidize that? Women's sex work,
Yeah.
men steal.
Yeah.
So it's
Well-
just, we force them into those things.
So then there's the argument of, well, why doesn't someone just go out and get a job?
Well, you know, one, there aren't that many jobs.
Yeah. What?
And-
It's difficult to get a job here?
And then two, if you've got somebody with a mental health problem,
Yep.
and many of our folks come with a mental health issue,
Yep.
it's hard to get a job. And then if you've got an addiction on top of that,
Yep.
how can you possibly work?
Yep.
And you're just not getting any further in your day. You're just scrambling each day
Yep.
to just get by. And sometimes they're not getting by.
Yep.
We've seen a big change in the police department over the years, really.
Good.
I think it started with Chief Bill Reed.
Okay.
Who was just, he gets it. He also did a master's in community planning. So he
Okay.
sort of had a better understanding of how communities get to where they're at.
Yep.
And what are the things that you need to do to address those.
Yep. I guess we've seen how status quo continues.
Right.
What are some things that could help people?
Well, again, I think we have to address poverty.
Yep.
Because unless people have a safe place to lay their head at night,
Yeah.
really no treatment programs. You can't do any of that if you're insecure.
Yep.
So people need a safe place to lay their head. They need to have food to eat.
Yep.
And from there, you know what? A lot of things can happen. A lot of good things can happen, and we've witnessed it time and time again.
Well, and to have, to just want people to have a safe spot to lay their head and some food in their belly, that doesn't seem like a very big ask.
It doesn't seem like a lot, does it?
So where can these things come from then?
Well, we just keep advocating. We keep advocating. We work with other community partners.
Yep.
Our work really is about journeying with people.
Yep.
And supporting them and helping them make lifestyle changes when they want to.
Yeah. So closing thoughts, final messages to take away.
I'm proud of us as an organization. I'm proud of all of our staff. I'm proud of our partners, because none of us ever do any of this work alone, you know, and I feel like I'm sort of cheating people because I'm out here being the spokesperson. But really, there are so many people in this community that give every bit as much as I do, probably even more sometimes.
Yeah.
People are hungry, they're homeless, and they're living in dire poverty. And none of those issues make it easy to recover from a drug addiction,
Yeah.
right? So, in fact, they might make it impossible to recover from a drug addiction. So we just have to, I'm all about kindness. Just be kind, because sometimes, you know, and people will say, oh, you're so nice. It's because they haven't heard a kind word in a really long time from somebody who said, you know what, I think you're pretty great. And thank you for coming and seeing us. And we hear stories, we We share lots of wonderful things with people too. It's not just about the, providing the service. I think that we have great relationships, and we are relationship builders. That's what Avenue B is. That's what we see our role in the community as, is building relationships so that the people that we work with get the support they need.
The importance of building relationships and the importance of community coming together can help everybody so much. And I'm so thankful for Julie for sharing her story and how she is one of many people working and fighting and making things better. Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie.